What if I told you that in the corridors of our genetic structure, we are host to a remnant spirit, one connected to every soul in our lineage? This dwelling ghost in our DNA influences and shapes our potential and our worst fears. Primitive tribes called it the spirit of the ancestors that provided sacred wisdom to us. But now science is telling us that they were likely right all along. There is a strange theory that has permeated ancient mythologies and more recently, analytical psychology. That of ancestral memory, which suggests that memories, knowledge, or even experiences can be inherited from ancestors, rather than learned through personal experience. To many indigenous cultures, there's more to it. There's actually a spiritual component. To them, the actual spirits of the ancestors are alive and well in their descendants. I think that there's a widespread misconception that our ancestors were less intelligent than us, and it's just simply not true. To be clear, we're not discussing reincarnation. This is something totally different. It's not specific memories that just reoccur in a different individual. No, I'm talking about the world of the unconscious mind. It's a world of archetypes and symbols, and it's buried deep in the right brain. It's not readily accessible, but comes forward as a kind of intuition, not pure reasoning intelligence, not with overt details. And it includes one of our most primal emotions, fear. In 2013, the cherry blossom experiments may have actually proven or backed up some of these ancestral memory myths. Researchers trained male mice to fear the smell of cherry blossoms by pairing it with mild electric shocks. Every time one of the mice was exposed to the smell, it was quickly followed by an electric shock, creating a conditioned association between the two. Now, the conditioned mice offspring, who had never been exposed to the smell or the shocks, when they were exposed to the smell for the first time, they had a severe fear reaction. They seemed to have a genetic memory of what happened. Even crazier is that 2 to 3 generations later, their descendants were still having the fear response to the smell. The researchers dug a little deeper and found that the DNA in the sperm of the trained mice showed changes, particularly in the genes related to smell receptors, suggesting that the memory was biologically passed down. Can our ancestors' trauma and experiences be transmitted through the genetic code itself? Research in human studies has actually yielded similar results. The research suggests that the descendants of Holocaust survivors may exhibit altered cortisol levels compared to individuals without such family history. Some studies indicate that the offspring of Holocaust survivors, particularly those with a high parental PTSD, may have lower cortisol levels, while also demonstrating higher levels of the enzyme that breaks down cortisol. Basically, some of these studies found higher or even lower cortisol levels in these descendants of Holocaust survivors. Whether higher or lower, it seems like they all had this distinct difference from other people in the study. These people that were subjected to this type of trauma left some type of mark on their genetic code. Our genetic code, and by extension our minds, may be holding a legion of wisdom. Our oldest stories and myths captivate us, even ones that predate written records. Why do we seem to remember them and have this instinctual yearning to rediscover them? Take the Aboriginal wild hunt myth, for example. It's an archetype that permeates European legends, but its source is theorized to be much, much older than we can even fathom. As Aboriginal Australians and other ancient tribes describe the same motif. It's said to come upon countless tribesmen like an otherworldly vision. They witness a supernatural chase or hunt, and at the head of the pack, an ancestor spirit or deity. Seeing a night sky filled with spectral beings pursuing lost souls is considered a very bad omen. It meant impending doom, war, or plagues. Told and retold, from generation to generation, over the fire, reinforcing information that may be written inside our genetic code, perhaps awakening a memory already with us. But let's add to the strangeness. What if we took it a step further? What if all this knowledge and information was pre-existent? Like a cosmic field of energy, just waiting to be tapped into. If you've ever heard of the morphic resonance theory, then you know what I'm talking about. It suggests that invisible, psychically connected fields share information with all members of a species, like receivers of a specific frequency bandwidth. This theory actually became more substantial after very weird behavior was observed by lab rats at Harvard University. When the rats learned a new trick, such as escaping a water maze, rats in other locations like Edinburgh and Melbourne found it easier to learn the same trick, according to researchers. Seems to suggest that while these rats are learning, they're sharing this information simultaneously in an energy field with members of their same species. This has also been observed in the technological development of humans, where several people in different geographic locations who have no affiliation and without any communication to each other will start developing the same device at the same time. There's a striking similarity between this theory and the idea of the Akashic record. Much of the ideas about this field of information were perpetuated in the early 20th century by psychic Edgar Cayce and occultist and psychic Helena Blavatsky. To them, this energetic web of information, this ether, could be tapped into by the proper ritual or by psychically sensitive individuals. But if you're interested in exploring the outer and even inner cosmos, check out some more of my work here.